Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Sunday, December 15th. So I've got some things to run by you guys. I got a lot of free time on my hands, right? And free time doesn't do anybody any good. I mean, my doctors are telling me I have to take it easy, rest a lot, eat well, even though I think I'm eating like a horse, but again, I dropped down to 171.2 and I was 189 at the hospital. So I either got to eat more or eat more of a certain thing. But that's not the thing for today and what I wanted to talk to you guys about. I'm looking at doing a podcast slash videos on like a pro series where we discuss is you got small engine repair in there, but you also have you lawn care guys and the crossover that takes place between the two. And that's what's going to take place for today's video is I'm going to show you where the crossovers are and the trends that are happening right now and what I see going on in the future. So again, I value your input. You guys have always been, you know, great with ideas and yays or nays on topics. So once we get to the end, let me know what you think. And if we'd rather not go that direction, we won't. But I was looking at investing into one day, whether it be a weekday or a Saturday. Today is Sunday, I know, but I sat here thinking about it yesterday. That we talk a lot about small engine repair and a lot of how we do things. But I know you lawn care guys that are doing, and there's different segments of the size of you guys. And I know that a lot of the videos that I put out are very helpful to you. I know they are because you have to deal with customer service, billing, equipment breakdown, and so forth. Because a lot of you lawn care guys are fixing your own stuff. How do I know that? Because I sell a lot of parts to you. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. If you didn't already know it, my name is Eric, and this is the weekend, right? But today we're talking about Pro Series. It's a Pro Series podcast is what I'm looking at creating, and having it one day a week. And why one day a week? Because a lot of stuff that we cover in small engine repair, a lot of you guys that are in lawn care are benefiting from it because a lot of you are fixing your own stuff. And over the years, I've sold a lot to the mid-level, to a really, really big lawn care companies out there. I know one company I sold in 1 year. I sold, I think it was 22 hydro gear drive motors. Yeah. And like 10, 12 of the pumps, the hydraulic pumps for them. But the problem is when it comes to lawn care guys, and you tell me if it's different, because I know some of you guys are watching, is trying to find a small engine repair shop that can get you in and out quickly. And that's going to kind of depends on the size, all right? Now, most small engine repair shops operate on, and you should, first in, first out. And not allowing other machines in front because they're your buddies or you're trying to get a new contract, this and that, because you're training the customer that whatever you're doing and however number of machines are in the yard, that you're going to always take them first, and that's not going to be the case. You're taking them first because you're trying to get a newer customer, right? A new customer on the books. Hopefully they'll come back. But running a small engine repair business, you have to do first in, first out. Because if you don't, you're going to start getting some really pissed off customers that their machines have been sitting there for quite a while and you keep putting stuff in front of it, right? This is the big issue with the small engine repair guys, or this lawn and garden guys, you guys, is you can't have a lot of downtime on your units, especially if you're smaller. If you're smaller, then good chances are you don't have a lot of machines to run, right? So if one breaks down, you need that fixed and back into production so that it's making money. Mowing yards. And even the equipment like the blowers and all that. The trend is, as the battery industry gets better, which it is getting better, it's getting smaller, lighter, and will last longer. I foresee that you guys with the landscaping and the lawn care business are going to start, if you haven't already, adopting a lot of the new battery technology. And that could be for your blowers, your trimmers, all your handheld stuff. I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith in the eco lawnmowers that are battery operated yet because of the runtime on it. Just isn't there, and you guys are going from lawn to lawn to lawn, right? Or your crews are, depending upon the size of you. So, where is the happy medium? Now, if I were a lawn care guy and I had a shop that would get my stuff in and out quickly, I probably would hire it done. That would give me more time in the field. But that would be because I have a backup machine to keep me going while the repair shop gets my other one running. And service on that equipment is super, super important. Preventative maintenance is a must, right? Because you rely on that equipment to get you paid and keep business rolling in. So if that unit is down, it's not making you any money, right? So the way I look at it is if I were running a lawn care business, which I'm not, I would have it set up by the hours, not by the year, by the hours. And that means on zero turns, after so many hours, it gets an oil change. So many more hours, it drain the hydrostatic transmission, drain it, put all fresh new oil in it. There's a lot of things that you can do to prolong having issues with that mower. I know some lawn care guys that just run them until they drop. And it's sad because they aren't cheap. To get a commercial grade lawnmower, zero turn, you're talking 2 or 3 times what the homeowner series is. And I've seen some of you guys out there, some of the guys here locally that run the lawn care business, buying the homeowner series from Tractor Supply and then pissed off because they don't last long. And they take it back to the Tractor Supply and complain that it's not doing what it needs to do. But you've had it a week and there's close to 40 hours on it. I know exactly what you're doing with it. They weren't made for that. If you're going to get into the commercial field with lawn care, you need to look at the commercial machines. And you aren't going to find them at Tractor Supply, Lowe's, Home Depot, and all that. You are going to have to go to a dealer. And sit down with that dealer if you can come up with a good rapport with them. And look at your wants and needs and what you're doing. And I always say, once you figure out which lawnmower you're going to need, go bigger. Just go the next step bigger. And why is that? Because as you grow, you're going to have more hours on that unit per week. And if you haven't already, you're probably going to be hiring employees to be running them so that you can get more units out there. The more yards you can mow, the more money you can make, right? But the cost to do preventative maintenance is cheap compared to what it costs if you go into breakdowns. And that's what I can't stress enough to you guys with the lawn care business. You guys out there with the small engine repair business and stuff already know what the costs are. Because you're fixing them every day, right? We're fixing them every day. If you have to, see, they recommend, like on the commercial grade, if you have one pump, hydraulic pump, hydrogear pump, and you have one filter, and you have 2 Parker drive motors for the rear axles, if you have one go bad, they recommend at that point that you replace both motors on the drive, both Parkers, replace the pump, drain all the fluid out, flush it, put new pumps on, or put new drive motors on, put new pump on, and of course, new filter and all new oil. What a lot of you guys are doing is if you have one of your Parkers go bad on the drive motor, you're just simply swapping it out. And why is that a bad thing to do? Because what's going to end up happening is usually when you have one of the drive motors go, you're going to get like metal shavings. And they aren't all going to be caught in the filter. And the issue that's out there is that if you have one hydraulic pump and one reservoir, anything from that drive motor is going to affect the other drive motor and the pump, right? So you could put a new Parker drive motor and within a week take out the hydraulic pump or the other Parker drive motor. And now where are you at? You're down again. So if you go by what the manufacturer says, and depending on the size of the machine, I've seen machines that had 2 separate hydraulic motors, 2 separate reservoirs to their drive motors. In that case, it's not so big of an issue. But you have to look at the hours, right? How many hours are on that machine moving frontwards and backwards? And you can find that information online if you wanted to go look of how many hours does a normal Parker drive motor last. And preventative maintenance, just swapping out the hydrostatic fluid, in intervals, like every other oil change, drain it. And when you drain it, check for shavings and stuff to see if that Parker is starting to break down. And a lot of times what I see is if one goes, you've got some pretty good hours on it, and the other one is right close to it of going as well. So a lot of you guys that had landscape companies buying from me would buy extra Parkers and hydrogears and have them sitting on the shelf. And then once you realize I could have that motor to you the next day, a lot of you guys stopped stocking, didn't you? I mean, at one point, we were selling, 400 or 500 Parker drive motors and half that in hydrogear pumps and stuff. And they were all going to landscaping companies. I know where they were going. I can read. And what I end up doing with a lot of landscape companies, instead of buying it off eBay, Amazon, and all that, I had them call me. And I could have it out overnight if they needed it. So they have it for the following day. We both knew it was going to cost more for shipping, but when you're down, right? And the overhead with these companies is if they can get me to stock it instead of them, it's better because inventory can cost you a good chunk of money. But if you're a landscape company, you got to have it yesterday, and you got to have a guy like me that's willing to ship it out overnight if need be, to keep you going. So the true thing comes down to how big your landscape company is. If you're a one-man band and you and a buddy are mowing together to do yards, you're probably running 2 0-turns, you got a couple trimmers, a couple blowers, so forth. The chances of you fixing your own stuff is probably minimal because you don't have enough units to really have a shop, right? But as you get bigger, now, if you have, let's say, 10 employees and you've got 10 plus 0-turns, and most of the time there's always a backup, right? So you got 20 0-turns, and your crews rely on that equipment being ready. The big issue with trying to find a small engine repair shop to get your stuff in and out the minute it breaks down is going to be low. Now, the only time I've seen that where it was feasible is in the bigger shops, the bigger repair shops. And if the landscape company is big enough to where that owner can devote one individual to just you, if you have that much work, then they will do it in a heartbeat. I try to rush our landscape guys through as quick as possible, but I can't play favoritism in our shop. It's got to be first in, first out. And I pride ourselves with Claude and I that stuff is not sitting in the shop for long. If it's sitting there for a day or two, it's because we're waiting on parts. But if you're a landscape company and you bring it to us and you need a drive motor or a hydro gear pump, I'm going to have to order. I don't stock a lot of them. I've got 6 hydro gear motors and I think 2 Parkers. But depending upon the mower, you get different sized pumps and drive motors, all right? But if the shop is big enough and you're big enough to where they can devote one guy, that would work out great for you, right? In a way, because you're getting your stuff in and out. But what I've seen over the years is if they're that size, they have their own shop. And I've seen even the smaller ones where you, the owner, are doing the repairs on it to try to save you money and get it back into production as fast as you can. And you're just as skilled as a small engine repair mechanic, right? At that point, if you're doing everything yourself, you're troubleshooting and you're figuring out where the issue is as quickly as possible and getting it fixed. And you may run into the same thing I run into, and that is when you order stuff, heaven forbid you get that back order message. You're, what do they call it, shit out of luck, right? That's why a lot of my guys that were landscape companies stocked a lot of the stuff right there in inventory. They had their own shop, their own mechanic. All they wanted from me was parts. And they not only wanted me for parts, but I had to become educated on the whole system and the way to do things. And Claude and I, umpteen times, probably closer to 100 times, are going through our spiel to the owners of these companies of what the manufacturer recommends and why. Because the first instinct is just to change out a Parker drive motor. You don't take into consideration that you may have affected the other one and the pump. Because what's inside those Parker motors is like a shim plate. And the same thing with your hydraulic motors. is it builds pressure as it rotates, right? And if that shim plate gets wore or damaged, it allows the flow to go through quicker, but you're not moving. Let's say it's a Parker drive motor. It'll allow the fluid to go through there easier, but that motor will slow down, if not stop, because it's not building the pressure it needs to drive, right? So we had to become the educators as well, because we had issues of where we would have shops and landscape companies swap out a Parker motor and get on the phone with us pissed because now the other Parker's gone, the hydraulic pump is gone, and now they're buying that. If they listen to our spiel, if you get a Parker and it goes, and you got 2 Parkers on it, and you got 1 reserve, and you got 1 pump, the manufacturer says change them all. Because what has affected the one now has contaminated the hydrostatic fluid and is now in the hydraulic pump and the other Parker. That's why they say swap all 3 out, flush the system, new hydrostatic filter, all new oil, new pump, new dries, and you're ready to go again. But that costs good money, right? I think the Parkers are around $300-400 a piece. Same thing for the pumps. So you're looking at almost $1,000, if not more, depending on the size of the unit, if you have 1 drive motor go down. And if you're looking at it, you're saying, well, it's $300 to replace the Parker. It's only going to cost me $300 if I just do that. But good chances are you're going to take out the pump, the other Parker, and even the new Parker you just put on, because now it's pushing that contaminated fluid with the shavings through that new pump that you just bought from us that we will not warranty because you didn't change the others. And we know you didn't change the others because you didn't order the others with me. You're calling me complaining that Parker didn't hold up. But now you're asking for 2 Parkers and a pump. So I know exactly what took place. So I'm going to start wrapping it up for today. But the key points that I'm trying to make is, with you landscape companies, is the bigger you are, the better chance is that you have your own mechanic and your own shop. I've seen a lot of owners be /owner and mechanic until they could get enough yards, enough units to pay to hire somebody full time to take care of their group of mowers, blowers, and everything, right? And the battery technology has come a long ways. And like with my truck, I have a couple places that you can plug 110 in to where you can have like a bunch of batteries on a charge while the vehicle is running. I don't recommend that you leave it plugged in all the time, but I think on mine, once you plug in, you have to push a button, or there's a button on the dash that I can push to activate that, so it's not drawing from my batteries on the truck. It's only going to draw once the vehicle has started and I push the button to allow juice back to those batteries. I can't stress it enough of, if you can find a shop that they can devote 1 mechanic to you, sometimes that's cheaper than hiring your own person in-house. If we had a landscaping company that would keep 1 mechanic busy all the time here, yes, I would hire that mechanic in a heartbeat and have that mechanic there for just a landscaper. And I would stock everything that I know that they're going to need, right? But let me know what you think, with this podcast /videos and doing it with the landscapers' point of view and trying to talk to you guys that are in landscaping. But it's that crossover, right? where we're all doing the same thing, guys. We are. We're trying to make money by either running units or fixing them. And you have to decide if it's feasible to start fixing them yourself, because you're going to have to learn that trade of being a mechanic. The more time, the more experience, the wisdom comes, right? But I know if I were running a landscape company, the last thing I want to have to deal with is mechanics, breakdowns, and that. My goal is to keep as many units running as quickly back into production as possible, keeping my crews busy, and instead of spending time fixing those units, I would rather be out there looking for more work to hire more people to have my business grow. So you have to make the choice. Do you want to have growth, or do you want to fix your own crap? Well, let me know what you think about the podcast. Yay, nay. If there's no interest in it, we'll just forego it. If there is enough interest in it, then we can devote just one morning to just that. We can do it on a Saturday morning so it doesn't affect the weekday show. Or we can do it on a Friday as we're going into the weekend. You guys let me know in the comments. And you landscapers, let me know in the comments that you're here and what you have problems with and what the issues are that you run into. So on that note, you guys have a great day, and we'll see you here bright and early tomorrow morning, which will be Monday, where we have to wake you up to go to work. On that note, you guys have a great Sunday, and we'll catch you here tomorrow, bright and early. Bright and early? Right now, it is 3:45. I got up early. I went to bed early. All right, guys.